Good morning, everyone. My name is Alicia Hofstätter. I'm part of the GeoGebra team. Actually, I'm leading the content team at GeoGebra, which means that together with my team, we work mostly on math resources, which are hosted for free on our website. And also we try to support our great community with whatever they need when it comes to content and creating. Thank you for joining my session today. Let's directly jump into it. If you have questions, there are 5 minutes planned at the end of the session, but please feel free to also drop your questions into the chat as a reminder for later if you'd like to. So GeoGebra is located in Austria. This is also where I am right now. Our main offer are free calculators, which you can find at geogebra.org, but also download in the app stores. But I'm not going to go into the details there. So if you would like to have a closer look at the calculators, please feel free to find them at geogebra.org. What I really want to talk about today is the resources that we are creating and hosting on our website. So most of it, or most of our resources cover grades 4 to 8. And we have it structured on our website. So you can find it if you go to geogebra.org/math. So we have a dedicated page to our resources, which are all hosted there for free. You can find them sorted in categories. At the beginning, there are highlighted resources with a little video preview to give you an idea of what it's about. And as you can already see, we label them as exploration and practice. I will go into detail about that a bit later. And then if you scroll down, you get lots of different topics that then lead to the various interactive resources. Something that I want to mention here at this point is once you go into a resource, you can assign it to students. So there's the GeoGebra Classroom feature and also a Google Classroom feature. So you can directly assign this to your students. So I would like to try out the GeoGebra Classroom feature with you if you're interested in joining this and trying it out yourself. But I will get to that. First of all, what's the goal here with our resources? So we are trying to work on really high quality resources, which means we want those resources to be ready to use so that in classroom you can just use them with your students, or you can assign them as homework. And especially since we know that teachers are so busy doing so many great things, this is what we are trying to do for teachers to take a bit off the workload. So the way we work is we're an international team because I believe that this brings more creativity and more ideas and more concepts. And I'm constantly amazed actually how many different ways there are of teaching mathematical topics across so many countries. So in this project, we have experienced teachers, we have instructional designers, we have UX designers to help with interaction concepts. We looked at lots of research in the beginning. We looked at other projects, especially university projects, to see how we can really leverage the benefit of technology here. Also did a few rounds of testing with students and teachers in the very beginning of this project. And we're trying to achieve a really consistent design and quality. So that's, also consistent concepts of interaction so that it becomes easier for students and everyone also knows what to expect when working with those resources. If you would like to try the resources out yourself, of course, I invite you to go to our website and just dig through and explore them yourselves. But if you would like to follow the resources that I'm going to show in this session, and also have a quick look into the classroom feature of GeoGebra, then please follow me and open this link. So I'm going to post the link into the chat for you. So this will open the student's view of GeoGebra Classroom for you. I opened the classroom for you, which means that I am seeing the teacher's view, but I'm going to show you that towards the end of the session, and you can join the classroom from the student's perspective. So the types of resources. We distinguish between two big categories, which is explore and practice. With explore, we find it important that we do as much as possible direct interaction, nonlinear exploration, trying to bring things that students cannot always so easily do on paper, so that we really look at what can we do with digital interaction that we cannot necessarily do on paper. If we look at this in more detail, then this brings you to those typical activity pages. Sorry, loading is really slow when I'm screen sharing. So then here students get to look around for different angles. And then below those explorations, we always have additional open-ended questions. We on purpose do not provide answers because we think this should really start a conversation. So we hope that those guiding questions will also enable teachers to start a classroom discussion, to have kids talk about the topic, and also to provide guidance for students on how they are supposed to explore, especially when content is non-linear and there's lots of things that you can play with and figure out. We feel that with guided questions, we can give students an idea in which direction to go and what exactly to try to find in this. So another exploration resource, for example, is this one, which goes more into a guided direction. So in this case, we actually give a bit of feedback, but only positive one. So here you can move the slider and you can see that it turns to a teal color to suggest to students that they're on the right track. But in those explorations, no matter what we do in explorations, we never give negative feedback. We either give ways for students to make it easier to find a solution. So example, in cases where students get stuck or can get stuck, we at some point show a show me button, but it only appears after a while. It never appears from the start because we always want them to try it out first. And then the show me button will reveal additional information to help them figure it out. And then in this example, once they figure out the first part, there's a solve button that will slowly step students through the concept of solving this equation with a visual representation. Then also most of the explorations are randomized, which means that at the end there's a new problem button, which will load the same or very similar problem with different numbers mostly. So this way students can keep playing with this, can keep exploring, and they will constantly always get new numbers. The other important big category is practice. So in this category, we have randomized questions. So it's always multiple questions. And this is really for students to practice. So can be assigned as homework, can be used in classroom directly. Here we put a lot of effort into figuring out how exactly to do the logic for students. So one important thing we are doing here is there is no skipping problems. So students cannot just click through all the problems until they find one that they like. Instead, we let students try 3 times, because the other way around, like, we don't want students to be in an infinite loop where they just keep being stuck. So based on research, we found that 3 tries is usually a good number. And we also provide this information in the check button. Also, they need to interact before the check button turns active. So in this example, it's about dragging the cross to the right coordinates. One little thing that we do here that's not obvious is, I'm going to get this one right first, is we also show error-specific hints in some cases, which means that in this case, for example, 7-4, and at this point, students typically switch coordinates. So they would do 7-4 like this instead. And then after the first try, we already give a hint that says you switch the coordinates. And then if they get it wrong again, so they are not supposed to, you can see that the check button turns inactive, so they are not supposed to try the same thing again. They need to try something else. Then we give on the second try that they get it wrong, there's a more specific hint or more general hint. And if they still don't find the solution after the third try, we show them what the solution is. So in this one, it's a very, let's say, simple way of showing the solution because it's really like, here it is. There could be more explanation also, which is what we do in other cases. So for example, in this one, this is about measuring angles using a protractor, when you can actually move the protractor to where you need it. And also this one has a typical error hint, we call it, if students put the protractor on the wrong side. So this would be 107. Then this will also give an error specific hint. And I'm going to get this wrong on purpose to get the solution. So then here I get an extra button with a step-by-step solution. One thing, of course, is we show what the solution would have been, but also we felt that here students will benefit if they get an explanation of how to do this exactly. So our approach with those practice activities is to really set it apart from the typical doing exercises from a textbook concept. We feel that it's not only feedback, not only telling students if it's right or wrong. We try to really show them how to do it so that hopefully through using those resources and practicing, they can also learn and understand how this works. And then new problem, we'll restart this with a new angle. So in this, the angle is randomized, so it will just keep reloading new questions. Maybe you noticed there's a counter here at the bottom. So this counts how many questions the student got correct within this resource, which is also something that we're going to be able to see later in the classroom feature. Because we find it's important to also add a bit of different things on the side. We have a few extras, I call them. So we do have a few resources that are outside of this exploration and practice concept and go more in a gamified direction. So they can be in the practice category, can be in the exploration category, so we don't extra categorize them. But for some cases, we have more gamified approaches, especially when it comes to practicing things, like in the video that is running right now, estimating angles. So in those more gamified approaches, we use concepts like estimation and collecting points rather than getting a right or wrong feedback. So especially with estimation, it's more about how close it is. So an angle of 25 degrees, it's going to be, let's say, about here. Okay, so here I get 1 point because I was already close, but not close enough. Three points if it's really close, and 5 points if I get it absolutely right. Oh, 91 degrees, that could be an easy one. Let's see. And this one also adapts to how well students are doing. So if they keep failing massively, then at some point it will show additional information. It will show 0, 90, and 180 degrees. And in the other direction, if students keep doing well, the animation starts going faster, 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 so that they can play it faster. This is one that's categorized under practice, which is, yeah, a puzzle to solve a system of equations. And this is also with earning points. So if they get it right on the first try, they get 5 points for this question. If I deliberately get it wrong and just enter something, then it will give me one number. And then I'm down to 3 points, which means that with every try, I get one more hint, but also I lose points I can get. And then it also shows me the solution. And with a new puzzle, I can try again. One thing that we recently released are Spanish translations. I'm not sure if you've noticed this on the website already with the resources I showed before. So here on the side, in the activity pages, you'll see this link, Spanish translation available. So we are doing this for all of the resources that we currently have on our website within this project, that we are translating them to Spanish with a one-to-one translation. So it's really the exact same resource, but in Spanish. And what's very new, because they really started releasing just a couple of weeks ago, is resources for Algebra 1. So for grades 4 to 8, we currently have about 450 resources. With Algebra 1, we now have 35 published ones, but more is coming soon. We just started releasing this. So this one is about changing behavior of open graphs, which lets students drag the point around to see when exactly it changes, how it's called, and how you can influence this. And then also here a new graph. We'll give you a new graph. And again, there are guiding questions below. A practice resource that we recently released as part of the Algebra 1 package is graphing the inequality, which means that you first set your line. You can click the line to make it open or closed, or dashed and solid. And then you click the area that you think belongs to the inequality. So also here, I immediately get the hint that my boundary line is wrong. And then it also shows me a possible solution. Here I can switch between my solution and the actual solution. And then there's this point that lets me explore the area so that I can understand why the region is shaded. And again, new inequality will bring out new numbers. Okay, let's have a look, quick look at Classroom, so that we also have time for questions. So now I can open my view. So here's the teacher's view. So basically what I did, I just created a whole group or a whole book, we call it, resources, and gave it a link. So you could have the student's view. Now here I'm sharing the teacher's view. The teacher's view means that I, as a teacher, can see who is working on those tasks, who has not started yet. Here you can see there's student 1, student 2. That's because before I shared it, I clicked the hide names button. So here's a show names button, so you can see the names of the students. And then I get an overview. So also I have this progress bar that shows me how many tasks the students worked on. And for example, if I look into student 1, then I can see here that this specific student actually already got 4 questions correct on this one. And I see the status of the student. So this is like the last moment the student was working on this. And then also if I go into, so I have 2 ways into looking at this data. I can either look at every student individually, or I can look at every question individually. And then here on the question level, I see that 4 out of 9 students started working on this exercise. One thing that I want to say is, I think it's really important to look at technology with intentionality. Like also we at GeoGebra, yes, we are a software company. Yes, we do digital resources, but also for us, it's very important to always stay connected to the concept of what's the benefit of technology. And this is how we try to create our resources so that they really have an additional benefit that we cannot just achieve on paper. Thank you for joining my session. If you would like to get in touch with me, please send me an email or follow us on social media. There's also this QR code that leads to the community program, which is just a way how you can get in touch with us, can get involved with the GeoGebra community as well. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Is this hard to set up for teachers? No. So you can try it out to just go to geogebra.org. If you create an account, then you can save your favorite resources. So there's this little heart that's next to the resources where you can just save them. And with the button in the top corner, you can assign it to students, or you can just use the link directly. Does this answer your question? Yes, I see. Okay, great. Sarah, please.
Hi, thank you so much for this. Do students have to create an account?
No, they don't. So the way it works, you noticed I don't know if you tried it out. I also for myself hid the names of the students. So when students join the classroom feature, they have 2 options. They can either log in, or then they can enter as guest and just enter their name. The only difference is that if they log in, then the lesson gets saved in their account, which means that they can access it again. So they can close it and open it again. If they log in as a guest, then they will not be able to access it again if they close it.
And thank you. And one quick follow-up, I guess we can't embed individual exercises into, for example, a learning management system.
Yes, you should be able to embed them also.
So there's like an embed code that we can grab?
Yes, you can do iframe embedding. So if you go to, but this should also be easy to Google, because then it's going to be, I think, better explained.
Sure,
So
you don't
on
have,
the
I
resource,
just,
but on the resource page, there's a 3 dots menu and you go to details. And there's an embed button where you can get the iframe embed so that you can directly embed this, or you should be able to just embed the whole page also.
thank you. Rachel has a great question in the chat.
Are these accessible for screen readers and by keyboard navigation? I've had button nav issues before.